Welcome back, everyone. I'm T,
And I'm Nessa.
and together we are the Casual Fangirls. We are so glad to be here to continue our coverage of Amazon's The Rings of Power with episode 6 entitled Udon. Did I say that right, Nessa?
I think that's what it is. Udon? It might be
Udun?
Udun.
Udun, maybe?
I think
Okay,
it's Udon. Udon as noodles, I think.
Okay, I'm hungry, so that's probably why I said that. We finally made it to the big battle, something many, if not all of us, have been waiting for. Major things are revealed in this episode, and Numenor is on their way. This time, we'll be covering the events of the episode in chronological order because it just makes the most sense with how we saw the events play out. But before we get into that, let's discuss our overall feelings and how we would describe the episode. Nessa, I'm going to let you go first.
To people's surprise, I thought the battle was a little anticlimactic. It was. I'm tired of looking to the east and waiting for the dawn, and I'm kind of over it. Like, I get it, y'all are always fighting orcs and whatever, it fits into the whole thing, but I'm just kind of past that. And to me, that was not the strongest part of the episode. I think when I come to my bougie high fantasy, I'm here for like the language, I'm here for the lore, I'm here for the stories. So I don't know, when the battle happened, I mean, I'm always ready to see Arondir get busy. You know,
he got busy.
That's my boo. But other than that, I was just like, okay. I kind of miss the Harfoots. I miss Durin, but this episode did what it needed to do, and the ending was like, okay, that's what I stuck around for. So, you know, I give it its props. What about you?
I actually found this episode to be kind of exciting. I don't know how we flipped with this episode, but and I think it's because we finally got 2 of the 4 different storylines converging into one.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a relief, like, oh, finally, like I don't have to keep track of these 4 different storylines. So I actually thought it was pretty exciting. I agree that the battle was anticlimactic. We're going to get into it. You know, I'm not going to spoil it, but I found the way that they went about it to be super interesting because there was way more strategy than I've seen in my opinion, in other Lord of the Ring type battles, where it's other Lord of the Ring battles are just we need numbers, just, you know, hunker down or whatever. Like, we saw actual plotting and scheming and strategy in this episode. And that got me hyped because I was like, I don't know how they're going to get out of this. And we'll see. So
definitely going to dive into that. But before we do, T, I need you to hit us with the spoiler warning.
So if you're new here, welcome. Happy to have you. But just know that we are about to talk about all things Lord of the Rings fandom, as much as we have access to anyway. So that includes the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies and or books, anything else that Tolkien has written about and around Middle Earth and the Valinor and everything along those lines. So you've been warned. You're free to stay. It's a free world for most of us. So you can do what you want. But just know that we told you that we were going to spoil plot points and we're going to speculate heavily about what happened in this episode and what might be coming in the future. So with that, Nessa, let's get into it. Let's get into Udun, not Udon, because I'm hungry. Udun.
Yeah, so episode 6, Udun, we are starting with actually, this whole episode pretty much takes place in the Southlands with a little bit of
there.
Coming. So let's start there, right? So we open up seeing Adar planting some seeds, and he says, he whispers new life in defiance of death. As the orcs and men prepare for battle, Adar delivers his Super Bowl pep speech, y'all. He put on for his people. And he claims that they were slaves, shackled, but they're now finally free to fight for their home. And then they march on the Elven watchtower to find no one home. Waldreg once again asks about Sauron, but an orc interrupts them, saying that the elf isn't here. But Adar's like, I smell him. He's here. And my boo Shonef is there. And he comes out setting off all the Home Alone traps, right? And the orcs become trapped as the towers cave in on them. Bronwyn, Theo, and the other men make their escape. Now, let's pause here for a second. Adar's speech and talking about you guys were slaves, and here we are now fighting freely as brothers and sisters. It was a whole thing. What did you make of that speech?
You said Super Bowl speech. I thought Captain America, like, because nobody does a speech like Captain America in the MCU, and I was like, okay. So first of all,
Yeah.
let me back up for a hot second. Watching Adar do the speech just had me very proud to see the actor who played Uncle Benjamin. I was like, look at Uncle Benjamin getting the people together.
Getting them
I'm
coins.
here for it. First of all, getting them coins. But I thought I was like really into like his portrayal of this character, knowing like what he did in previous fandom stories that we adore. So that's first. Second, I thought the speech was fine. I think I didn't have enough context to like really appreciate what he was saying until the end of the episode when him and Galadriel had their back and forth, and then it made me think, of the importance of everything he was saying back earlier in the episode. But I thought it was fine, and I thought it definitely, we could see that he cares for the orcs. We saw that in the previous episodes. But in this speech, I was like, this is his people. Like he there's something motivating him that feels more than just, I want the world to be plunged in darkness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Like you can see like, these are my children. Like they need a home and we're going to fight for it. And like at first, like you said, like I wasn't sure what the hell he was talking about until we get to the end of the episode and we get a little bit more information. But so when I'm watching it, I'm like, slaves, shackled. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? What is this? But like you said, when we get to the end of the episode, we figure out more information. So we'll leave that for there until we get there. So I wanted to know, as the orcs are marching, doom, doom, nam, pat, doom, doom, nam. I'm not going to lie, yo, I was jamming. I was like, I know these are the bad guys, but these drums, doom, doom, Nampat means death, y'all. Which makes it more morbid that I was rocking to it. But when they're chanting that, they are chanting death.
That's
and
funny.
Then when they get to the watchtower, Arondir gets busy getting my baby. First of all, that hairline still crispy, boy, in battle. He must be lining it up himself because he still looked good. But yeah, he was out here getting busy. He had all these Home Alone traps set. So once they walk in, he's shooting off arrows. This thing crashes on that thing, which opens that thing, and then the whole tower caves in. It was a whole thing. What were your thoughts on that whole sequence?
I loved it. It because I really was like, how are they going to get out of this? And then when I saw that Arondir was the only one there, it still didn't click to me until he like stood up, made himself known, started shooting orcs, and I was just like, there's no way he's getting out of this. And then when he looked up at the tower and shot it, I was like, this is brilliant. Like and honestly, we're about to get to it, but they pretty much played the same play twice. We'll get to that.
Yeah,
but it's just like, trap them, like lure them in, lure the orcs in, get them trapped, and then try your best to take out as many as one time with like one foul swoop.
Yeah.
It definitely worked with the tower. We're going to talk about why it may not have worked as they thought it did when it got to the village. But I thought it was a brilliant plan for that part of the battle.
Yeah, and it bought everybody some time to make it back to the village so that they could really hunker down and make their stand there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next scene we get are the Númenóreans, Galadriel and Halbrand. They are racing to Middle Earth by sea. Isildur and Galadriel meet for the first time on the deck of the ship. Isildur expresses that he was trying to get away from Númenor and claims that it's not the real Númenor, whatever that means. Galadriel asks Elendil about Isildur's mother, and we find out that she drowned. So now, first thing I needed to point out was Isildur's nasty ass sharing that apple with that horse, bro. Because I was like, okay, he bit the apple and then he gave the apple to the horse. Cool. But then he took the apple back and bit it again. And all I could think is of those videos of like people sharing stuff with their pets, with their dogs. And I was just like,
So this must be, I'm just going to go ahead and say this is a cultural thing because I had the exact same reaction. I was like, oh no. It completely took me out of the episode. And that's how I know that like fantasy stories or just stories in Hollywood in general is not really ready to embrace blackness. Because if you were, there's no way in HE double hockey sticks, I haven't said that in a while, there's no way in hell that Like there wasn't some black person, like producer, writer, PA assistant, someone on set that was just like, why are y'all doing that?
Valentina should have walked by and be like, mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. That's nasty.
Arender, Disa, and who am I missing? Freaking Muriel should have been like, no.
Y'all let this happen?
Throw him overboard. No.
He himself should have been like, I'm not sharing an apple with a horse. Y'all gonna make me do this? Like,
people who are fervent animal lovers, like they, as you said, it's why I don't eat off people. It's why I don't eat at the company potluck. I am not about to have somebody's cat butt hair in my lasagna. Okay, not doing it. And I like cats, but I don't want somebody else's. No, nope.
All right. Something I noted was Galadriel and Isildur's like little excitement and joy to actually meet each other. For on Isildur's part, it's like when he realizes like, ooh, Galadriel is like using her little elven powers to see things. He's like, you can already see land? And she's like, yeah, we'll be there in a few hours. And he's like, right, like fanboying over her.
Yeah.
And then Galadriel lights up when she realizes that he is Elendil's son. I was like, oh, that's your daddy? That fine dude up the street. Okay. That's your dad. Did that strike anything with you? Like, did you
it definitely, I couldn't tell. So at that point in time, I was like, it's almost against what we know of Galadriel to begin like getting emotionally attached to these people, because she's so one track minded about the enemy, death, gotta stop it, gotta stop the darkness. So for her to light up when she realizes Isildur is Elendil's son means that she has some level of like affection for Elendil, which I guess kind of makes sense considering he like showed her the Elfin Tower and like all that other stuff like a couple of episodes ago. But it just shocked me to see her show some sort of affection specifically. But I'm into it. It's nice to see her finally like diversify her character a little bit. Like, okay, she does like, I don't want to say human, but she does feel more than just, I need to stop death.
Yeah, we needed to see another side of her for sure. And Isildur expresses that, well, basically during their conversation, he lets it be known that like, he's embarrassed to be a stable sweep. Like, he wants to be a soldier. He wants to be on the front lines. He doesn't want to be out here shoveling horse poop, although he's okay sharing apples with them. And she basically tells him, like, you know, even the humblest hands can, you know, unite kingdoms and save kingdoms. And I was just like, but your pride is out here running rampant. But okay. We'll go with that for sure.
Well, she's not trying to unite kingdoms. Well, I guess she was with Halbrand and.
Well, she's trying to save him.
She's trying to save him. She is, but it definitely called back to like the quintessential fantasy trope. The leader, the best leaders are the ones that are the most unexpected. Which I think Muriel or Bronwyn might have actually said to Halbrand later. We'll get that.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't want it. Like I don't want it. Jon Snow.
You don't want it.
That's what when Galadriel was trying to give Isildur that little pep talk, that's what that harkened back to. The other thing I wanted to bring up during this about this scene is that like we learned that Isildur's mom, Elendil's, you know, wife, I guess, or baby mama, I don't know what the status of their marital relationship was. She died by drowning. And I just thought that was really interesting, considering that Elendil and Isildur pretty much spend their entire life on the sea. And I was just like, I wonder what that actual is their obsession with the sea and being on the sea related to the fact that she drowned? Did she drown because they were on the sea together? Like, I feel like there's a backstory there that connects the sea with Isildur, Elendil, and Isildur's deceased mom. And then the other thing that it made me think of was like, was it her that was whispering Isildur's name in the first couple of episodes?
We definitely need more background information for sure. I think their obsession with the sea just comes from being Numenorian. Like
probably
their whole mantra is the sea is always right type of thing.
And then the sea took their mom.
Yeah.
But that's the
And
other thing too. Like if you grow up on an island nation like that, and your husband and your son and your children, the oldest son too, is like sea warring people. How do you not how do you drown, but like something catastrophic must have happened because we know she could swim probably.
probably.
In order for that to happen, and I'm just really interested in hearing that backstory.
Yeah. And then when I saw in the notes that you had put, is it her calling to him? I was like, damn, is it? Because then maybe is that the reason why? Like maybe she's not dead, but they think she drowned. And then what if that's the reason why Isildur's brother went west and he's actually with his mama? So that's where my brain went when I saw that in the note, because that never even crossed my mind. I was like, what if it is her calling? What if she didn't die?
I have this sneaking suspicion that she might be part elf.
Possibly.
I think it would make, or like descendant from elves or something like that. Like it that feels like it would tie it. Like I think the story that they give that Numenor and yada yada, but Elendil
Yeah.
still being so close to it and just being so open to helping Galadriel and everything like that. I'm super curious as to if um
Maybe she's a little bit more closer related to the elves
yeah,
than
and it would
we
make
are.
sense. Like to your point, and obviously, guys, we are freely speculating now. To your point, like if your theory is right that she's still alive, then her having some deeper connection to elven lore or elven life would make a lot of sense as to like why she's still alive, why she was able to carry her voice across the freaking sea, like all of that stuff would make a
Yeah.
lot of sense. So we'll
I
see.
hope,
I'm excited for that.
I hope we get more of that. Next up, we have Arondir, who tries to destroy the sword by hammering it to no avail and then sets off to hide it. More on that later in the episode.
Oh my goodness,
We've
so much
got
more.
thoughts. Yeah, no. But anyway, so everyone is getting ready for the battle. Bronwyn sends Theo to the tavern to defend those who can't fight. And in a conversation between Arondir and Bronwyn, we find out that the elves plant alpharin seeds before battle, which is a callback to what Adar did in the beginning of the show. He shares his dream that he wants to build a family with Bronwyn and Theo, because
He's like, and
daddy
Theo.
that stepped up, and Theo. He better put that in there and start a garden basically after all of this is over, right? So now we truly understand that Adar was doing basically an elven tradition, which is interesting. But I guess shouldn't be too much of a surprise considering he speaks Elvish to his orcs and he's called by an Elvish name. So there's still some traditions that he maintains. And then I want you to explain what you got here in the notes for us, what you noticed.
So the first thing I noticed as soon as Arondir was explaining all of the seeds and the superstition behind it or the tradition behind it, you plant one before a battle in order to give yourself good luck, yada yada. And then for him and her, he was like, well, when this is all over, we'll plant the rest of them and yada yada. First of all, it made me think back to Nessa, what you said the last episode, which the elves and Tolkien in general are really into plant life in the earth. And it's so very much just like, thank you for sharing that. It just, it gave it way more importance, significance when I was watching it because I knew that little factoid. But separately, the real thing I realized was that Adar's seeds were way bigger and he planted a lot more. So when I saw Arondir's three little baby seeds, I was like, ooh, Adar might win because he planted more and they were a lot bigger. Did you catch that?
I did not notice that at all. I did not notice that at all. But once again, Dr. T, that was a good catch, my dear, because I did not see that coming through. But yeah, that definitely would be, it would let us know, like, hey, don't think that this is all sweet over here.
It definitely felt like a harbinger to me for like what was to happen.
But I love the tradition though that like I know people are about to die, but let's prepare for new life here. Like I thought that was pretty sweet and pretty awesome, honestly. I'm telling you, high fantasy, y'all, bougie fantasy.
It also makes me think now. I don't even understand how my brain is so awake right now. I'm just gonna put that out there. But it
Right.
also makes me think that like, so if you're walking around, what was the name of the seeds?
Alpharin?
Alfrin. So if you're walking around and you see an Alfrin tree, I'm guessing it's a tree. Does that mean that you're walking past a place where a battle took place? Like,
I
I
don't
wonder
think
if that's gonna. Well, maybe not necessarily, but I
Yeah.
wonder if that is going to like be a callback at some point in the series where like they're traveling somewhere and they see a lone Alfrin tree and they're just like a big battle took place here.
Probably, yeah.
Like
I
a
think
lone one, like a big battle probably took
yeah.
place somewhere.
Yeah. I think they'll probably refer back to it at some point as they move forward for sure. All right. Destroying the sword. My boy Arendir was out here pounding that thing with a hammer, and the hammer broke. And it definitely gave me One Ring vibes.
Say more.
Yeah. So like when they get to Rivendell and they place the ring out and they're having the meeting of the fellowship and they're like, what do we do? What's going on? Gimli the dwarf gets up and he's like, why don't we just break it? And then he like hits it. And then nothing happened. Like it, the thing shatters and the ring is left intact. So I was just like, yeah, this is deep, dark magic. This is going to do bad things. So it definitely brought me back to that moment for sure. And then
that moment for me just made me, whenever I see anyone hitting anything with a hammer, I always just think of crap. What
Bobby,
is her name?
Oh no, I thought you were saying Bobby Baratheon.
I do think of Bobby.
You know what a hammer?
I think of Bobby V, who's like hit him with a hammer. I think of Thor just because he has a hammer, and I think of the woman from Emperor's New Groove. I know it's so ridiculous when she's like, do you remember the part?
What's her name? Esma.
That sounds like Uzma, Esma.
Something like that. But
so,
yeah.
I forget. I'm awful. I should know her name because I love that movie. She goes through this whole thing where she's like planning about how she's going to kill Cusco. First, I'll turn him into a flea, a harmless little flea. And she does like the whole thing. And at the end, she's like, and then when it comes, I'll hit him with the hammer. And that's what pops into my head because I'm a psychopath. So let's keep going.
Love it. Our lovely Arendir and Bronwyn share a kiss in this scene. And like, after he does his whole speech of like, you gonna be my baby mama, we gonna be together and all that stuff, they share a kiss. And she's like, we're gonna build a garden. Oh my God, promise me. And soon as she said, promise me, I was like, you're dead. You're dead. Because in fantasy, anytime someone's like, promise me, they're on their way out of here.
Promise me, Ned.
Promise me, Ned. Or I'll tell you about your mother when you get back. I
promise.
It's like, ooh. Promises are not a good sign in fantasy, in case y'all didn't know. So I was just like, bad things are going to happen.
Yeah. Them kissing was like fine. I like that he was just like, we're going to build a family like with Theo. Like he like paused and was like with Theo. Like just, I'm here for both of you guys. Like, even your bratty, stupid teenage son.
This was the one time that I was like, dang, y'all need a little swirl of Game of Thrones because y'all definitely have enough time for a quickie right here. But I guess,
I mean, but they're leading the charge and it's about to get dark. Like they just told everyone to get into position. And like, I don't know. Yeah,
Arya had time.
But the thing is that, like, is Arendir the type of man that just wants to get a quickie in?
He's not.
Right.
Which is why I love him even more. But if we gonna die,
that's a good point. That is the point, actually. That
is the point. If there's a high probability that we're going to die, get in here. Get in here. Let's do it. But it's okay. Fine. So the Arcs march down on the men in the Southlands. More Home Alone traps go off, and the orcs are surrounded by fire. The men make their stand, and just as it looks like it might be curtains for my baby, Arendir, his lady saves him. I gotta thank her, send her a postcard or something. The men can be heard cheering after their victory, but as they're looking through the bodies, they realize that they have slayed the men who defected from them. Arrows rain down and Bronwyn is struck. I told you them promises. Not good. They pull the arrow out, put the seeds in the wound, burn it, and somehow she survives. Magic, I guess. So my first thought, though, was like, what did y'all think was going to happen when these men defected to go join Adar? Like, did you think you were not going to see them again? Did you think you were not going to fight them? And I get it, like, it's the whole thing, like, oh, we're fighting our own people on opposite sides and whatever. But I don't know. Did you have any thoughts about their reactions?
It did feel short-sighted that Arondir didn't consider that's what they would do.
Yeah.
He's not a battle commander, right? Like, he's just an elf he's a soldier, but he's just an elf that's just like trying to do his best, right? Mm-hmm. I agree with you though. Like, the idea of like what happened to our men is something that no one's even like, that hasn't been uttered or anything like that. And I think from a viewer perspective as the audience, we also should have been like, yo, what happened to all those men? Because we were only seeing the one dude for a while, right? Like the main dude who came over. I'm awful with names, clearly.
Waldreg.
Waldreg, yeah. And so, but the thing that struck me the most when we got that realization was like, the men that went over to the other side, they were coming at our village. Like, they weren't like timidly walking in like, hey, don't do it, it's us. Like, they didn't do any of that. Like, they were still 100% down for the cause. So it was like, they had to kill him anyway.
Yeah. So don't feel guilty. Like, they attacked y'all. But also it shows us that the orcs learned their lesson from the watchtower. They were like, send the men in first and then we'll send our people in after. So, they adjusted, they shucked and jived and did all that stuff to make sure that not too many of the orcs went down this time. Mm-hmm. What did you think about the battle plan in general, though?
Again, it's like you're playing the same play twice. And how could you not expect Adar to expect that that's what you were going to do if he knows that you're held up in that village? Mm-hmm. If with nowhere really to escape in time, right? So I thought the plan was kind of stupid, especially when they were just like, the tavern, this is where we're going to make our last stand. Why?
And all I could think is...
with no escape route. Why?
All I could think was Winterfell and the crypts.
Yeah, exactly. The
army of the dead is coming. We're going to hide in the crypts with other dead people.
Right. We're going to hide in a tavern made of wood when they got fire and arrows. I was just waiting for only one fire arrow. Whole tavern goes up in flames.
Right. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, we've got them in the ring of fire. Now what? Like, they broke out of that ring ASAP. Like, it was not that difficult for them to get out of this little ring of fire. And I was just like, but I guess we have to remind ourselves, these are not strategists. These are not soldiers. True. It's just village people and Arondir. So it's like, I guess we can't expect too much, but I was just still like, some of y'all couldn't start running ahead. Like, those who can't fight, go.
It's also kind of wild that they had Theo be like the one person inside protecting them.
I think that was just Bronwyn's way of being like, you don't need to be on the front lines, go in there. But you're protecting our people, honey. Yeah, you're important. Yeah. Like, that was for sure her moment.
Yeah. It was annoying.
So, next up, y'all, we have our look to the east moment. And Numenor arrives just as the sun rises to help the men of the Southlands. We called it. We sure did. We knew it was happening. We knew it was coming. And we told y'all there was going to definitely be a look to the east moment as the sun rises. Mm-hmm. And I must say, watching this for the third time in Lord of the Rings fandom, I was just like, can we do something else?
Circle back and remind the people what the other first two times were.
So we had Helm's Deep. Mm-hmm. We looked to the east, and what's his name? Gandalf and them arrive.
He told them to do the
same thing. Yeah, I told them to do that. Doing the same thing, riding down on horses down a hill. And then we see it in Return of the King when Aragorn comes back with the army of the dead, the Green Ghost army, and they come raining down on them. And I was just like, we gotta
I mean,
figure something out.
to be clear, this happens in other fantasy stories too. Like Game of Thrones, when, spoilers, Sansa comes with the Knights of the Vale to save Jon at the Battle of the Bastards. That's the exact same play, right? The exact same scene.
But
them
it doesn't
coming
happen
over the thing. No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like it's not an uncommon fantasy thing to do, but the Lord of the Rings like visual properties, like they just keep doing it, and it's like, bruh.
Can y'all come at night?
It's not even that. It's more so like, why does everything have to happen last minute? That's me.
They gotta have us on the edge of our seats, I guess.
But I'm not on the edge of my seats because I know that they're coming.
They're coming, yeah. And I also have, I didn't put it in the notes and I meant to, but the timeline does not add up.
So let me really quickly.
Go for it.
So they did a lot of setup to stop this, what you're about to say right now. So when they were on the boat, Galadriel and Elendil, whoever was talking to Muriel, like Galadriel was like, oh, we're like an hour away from seeing land, or no, we're like hours away from being on land. And then when Elendil goes in to talk to Muriel, he was like, we should be, it'll take us a day to get into the mountains, and then like a half a day's ride or riding all night in order to get to, like through the mountains.
They said a day's ride. It was supposed to take 2 days. 48 hours.
You're right.
That's why I had to go back and I had to watch it, because I was like, all right, it's going to take y'all a day to land and then a day to actually get to like the village or whatever. So I'm like, cool, 2 days. But they say this the night that they escaped from the Watchtower. The men of the Southlands escaped from the Watchtower. And then like from when that time starts, it's only been 24 hours. Yes. So we only see 24 hours. So that's why I'm like, y'all should have, I don't know, they should have cut it.
They should have flipped the scenes.
Yeah, they should have flipped the scenes. So at least that way it would have been like, oh, okay, a day has passed. Now we've had 24 hours with the men of the Southlands. Mm-hmm. Yes, they should be arriving. To me, it didn't add up. Y'all, comment me, DM us, whatever. If I messed up, let me know. But did the timeline add up?
It sounded like Elendil should have said, oh, it's going to take us a full day before we actually reach any people.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been like a better way. Like, yeah, this is what we're doing, but like all together before we actually see anyone, it's going to take us a day, 24 hours.
Yep. So after the orcs rain down on them, Adar enters the tavern and asks Arondir for the sword. The orcs start killing people to let y'all know we mean business. I'm not playing around here. This ain't no child's game. And Bronwyn is next up to be killed, but then Theo's like, hold up. I know where it is. And gives up the location of the sword, of the hilt. Now, first of all, why are we hiding it in the tavern where we are making our last stand? I did not sit well with me.
I really thought that when Arondir walked off to hide it, that he was going to go bury it in the woods somewhere.
That's what I thought too. Somewhere, somewhere off premises, like something like that. They're going to expect it to be in the village. No, you should have hid it somewhere else. Then my other thing was like, how did Arondir's elf senses not go off and notice that Theo was following him and stumbling behind him?
So that's what I thought too. I was like, that is why I actually thought that like, so at that point in the show, right, we'll get to later on. At that point in the show, I just knew that Arondir knew that he was being followed by Theo. Because he's an elf. Why would he not, exactly what you're saying, why would he not know that? So at that point in the show, when Theo's like, here, I have it, like gives it over, I was like, that must not be it. Like, because my brain just could not compute that Arondir would not catch that Theo was following him and then switch it out or something like that. So that's what I thought at the time. So I was like, oh, that's not it.
Yeah, they didn't set up anything to lead us to believe that he knew.
No, absolutely right. But just what we know about him being an elf.
Yeah, like he should have known. So now
Right.
I'm questioning, like, did he know that Theo was following him? And he was just like, well, at least maybe one other person knows. So if I die, at least somebody else knows where it is. But
I
then
feel like
also, why would you want that person to be Theo?
because he's the one that has the connection to it,
Which
which
is
we'll
why
talk
he should
about.
be the last person.
I mean, Gandalf understands that like the power that objects can have over people and their draw to it, but
Yeah.
Arendir is just trying to get busy and stay alive, Like he's not thinking that far ahead. I just want to say the other thing about this scene by the end of it, I was like, all the children in this story are mad annoying. Okay?
Very
Because
much.
like I've wanted to punch in the face, I think, every single teenager in this show.
I don't
Nori,
blame you.
Isildur, Theo. Who else is there?
Farazan's son, the one that
Barazan.
set the Farazan,
Oh,
the one that set the ships on fire.
the daughter. She need to go too. Like they're all just really annoying. Just
They
messing
are.
stuff up.
These children are tough. They're tough to love. They really are. So the Númenóreans pull up. They start getting busy. Halbrand saves Elendil from an orc. I feel like that's gonna come back a little bit later. I don't know. Maybe you're gonna feel like he owed him a favor or something.
Mm.
Um, just before Adar makes a run for it, he gives Waldreg a mission. Dun, dun,
I didn't
dun.
catch that on my watch.
I didn't catch it on the first watch, and then I caught it on the second watch.
Second
Or
one.
like, actually, I guess I caught it when we get to the end, and I
Yeah.
was just like, "Oh yeah, that did happen." Okay. Um, and then Galadriel chases down Adar with Halbrand right behind her. She starts taking off, and he's like, "Oh, my baby's going. I gotta go too. Hold up." Halbrand knocks Adar off his horse, and they exchange words. Adar suggests that he may have hurt someone that Halbrand loved, maybe a woman, maybe a child. We don't know. He's real upset about it. Halbrand tries to kill Adar, but Galadriel stops him at the last minute. Now, the first thing that I noticed was that how much the men adore and admire Galadriel. Because when the Númenóreans come in and they start fighting, first you notice they are definitely Knights of Summer, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them have not been battle tested, and so like they are scared. They are trying to figure it out. But Galadriel is out. The tricks she was doing on that horse, I was like, and it looks like legit, like a stunt person did those things.
Mm-hmm.
There might
Mm-hmm.
have been some CGI in there, but it looks very much like someone actually did those stunts. And I was just like, this looks great. I love seeing her emotion. And then, so when she sets off to chase after Adar, Theo asks Arondir, he was like, who is that? Galadriel, the commander of the northern armies. And they're like, like smiling in the background. Theo is drooling. I'm like, bro.
I have never seen you make that noise before. Oh my goodness.
That's what all I could think. Have you you remember Hey Arnold, the dude who would like stand behind Helga? That's who he reminds me of. I was just like, okay, put your tongue back in your mouth. It's all right.
That is so funny. Oh my goodness.
But I think we needed that moment, because Galadriel, we've seen people hate on her so bad this whole show, that we needed to have a moment of when people are in awe of her. And that's
Yeah.
when you realize how she was able to have, her own troop follow her all the way to that northern temple in the mountains and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, like how she's even been able to go through all that and still be alive. Like the abs on her. Did you see how she was hanging off the horse and then pulled herself right back up? I was like, ooh.
That was a beautiful move. That was a
She got core strength if nothing else.
Yes. And when Halbrand catches Adar, they have an exchange of words, right? Halbrand's like, do you remember me? Adar's like, nope, you don't look familiar. And, so, and we figure out that something clearly happened between the two. But Adar just has no idea, which makes sense. He's been living probably for thousands of years. Probably to him, Halbrand is just another person who
But
crosses.
But even beyond that, you're absolutely right. Even beyond that, I think that it's another fantasy, something that we see in fantasy stories where someone who is like hell bent on getting the villain back for doing something to them, the villain is like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
Thanos did it to not Black Widow, to Scarlet Witch, when she was like, you took everything from me. And he's like, I don't even know who you are. And then the other time that happened too was when Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm spoiling all the things. You know what? I've been watching the MCU again, so this is why all this is coming up. So just bear with me. Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy was like dead set on getting Ronan. And then when he drunk dialed him to come square up, he was like, yo, you killed my family. Ronan was like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
but it serves to like, can you imagine like being dead set on getting revenge on someone who personally did something to you, and that person's like, what are you talking about? I've done so many things, I don't even remember the 1 second or the thing that I took from you. It like serves to reinvigorate and like really put even more motivation into wanting to kill that villain. But also, I think there's a piece of like humility or like embarrassment or insecurity that also comes with that. And so that's what I thought about when Ada was like, I don't know who you are. I know Hera must have been like, what?
Yes, because he built his whole life, his whole personality, his everything. The reason why he's trying to escape and get to Numenor and all these things is because of this, whatever this event or these events were.
Yep.
And Adar doesn't even know what he's talking about. And we don't know what they're talking about.
We gonna guess though.
We gonna guess. But I hope we find out. So what is your best guess of what happened?
I think that Adar was directly responsible or just directly killed someone in Halbrand's family. I don't know if it was a girl or a child. The fact that Adar said child makes me think it might have been a child of some sort. I don't know if I believe Halbrand had kids, maybe like a little brother or sister, which would actually make him and Galadriel's bond a little bit like make more sense that he's drawn to her because he knows that she's trying to avenge her brother. So if it was like a younger sister or younger brother that was killed by Halbrand, that would make a lot of sense to me. I think that makes the most, and or the fact that Adar said child is because he sees himself as a father and knows that he would feel that way if like about his orcs being killed or something like that. So that dichotomy is in my brain, but I'm going to guess and say close family member, probably a younger sibling.
I love that theory. That's a younger sibling for sure. And to kind of tack onto that, I'm guessing it's probably after he made like a blood oath to follow Adar or something like that. Like, I'm going to follow you. Or maybe it was something like,
do it.
Sorry.
Do it.
What if it was like how Waldreg, when he's like, we want to follow you. And he's like, well, you got to blood in, blood out. So he was like,
he
made Halbrand kill a family member, kill a younger sibling or something like that, or a love of his life or whatever. So maybe it was something like that. And then Halbrand still gets abandoned, or I don't know, whatever, right? It happens in between. But what if it's something similar?
We make a good team. We make a really good team. Honestly.
You be setting it up so I can knock her down.
we make it the alley-oop. We make a really good team because I think that would fit very nicely.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit too on the nose, but I like it anyway.
Because in the previous, I believe it was the previous episode, when Galadriel was talking to Halbrand about like, why don't you come back, blah, blah, blah. They were cutting that scene with Waldreg having to sacrifice Rowan.
Exactly.
So I'm just saying, y'all. That's gonna be another one of our predictions. Let's see if we get that one.
We gotta keep track.
I think we're doing pretty good.
I think you're doing pretty good too.
Okay.
You have no idea how much that excites me because it lets me know that like we are really getting into this like understanding how fantasy stories tend to story.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm here for it.
All right, let's keep going.
Moving on. So Galadriel holds Adar captive, and we learn that Adar is a Moriandor, which means son of the dark, aka the first orcs, aka Uruk. So we finally understand what he is, because it was like, is he a dark elf? Is he just a regular elf that got caught up in some stuff? Whatever. Apparently, he's one of the elves that was a prototype for orcs. And then that makes further sense why the rest of the orcs are considered his children, and he's considered the father, right? Because he probably made the rest of them, however they make them. And these elves these are elves that were taken in by Morgoth, tortured and twisted into another life form. So Adar reveals what happened with Sauron and after Morgoth's defeat. So let's get into those details, right? But before we get to that, Galadriel takes a dark turn, right? She threatens to kill the orcs. She's like, why don't I just take your children out into the sunlight? And then that's what even sparks Adar to tell the truth and to tell the truth. I don't know. We don't know.
I was going to say that.
Tell a story and give us some backstory, showing us that he really honestly does care about these orcs, even though it may be in a twisted way to us. But these are his children. But again, here we are at this theme of touching the darkness, right? He's out here threatening to slash and murder people. She's like, I'm going to kill all your kids and save you for last so I can come up to you and say I killed your children. Like, that's some dark stuff.
It is, but I'm with it.
And Adar is like, you looking for Morgoth's successor, you need to look in the mirror. And when he said that, it reminded me of when they got to the Northern Temple and she sees her reflection and she starts punching through it. And I was just like,
I forgot she did that. That's absolutely right.
I was like, fantasy, I see what y'all doing.
Fantasy.
Here.
So what I thought about when she makes this threat, I was like, there are orcs in Lord of the Rings. You did not keep that promise. And I was like, and you were in Lord of the Rings. You know that there's orcs around. And you ain't do nothing.
Well, he started talking, so I guess that was just like, all right.
Well, but I also think that it's a precursor that eventually she finds the light. Like eventually she lets go of it, right?
Yeah, at some point. So here we get to the story, right? Adar basically says, after Morgoth's defeat, the one you call Sauron devoted himself to healing Middle-earth, bringing its ruined lands together in perfect order. He sought to craft a power not of the flesh, but over the flesh, a power of the unseen world. He bid as many as he could to follow him far north, but try as he might, something was missing. He explains that and he saw enough of his children being sacrificed, and that's what made him be like, all right, we're done. And he says that he killed Sauron. Split him in half, is his quote. What did you make of this story?
I think the best lies are based in truth. So I think that there was that was like probably 80% truthful and 20% lie. And the 20% lie has to do with whether or not he killed Sauron.
Yeah.
Either that or go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, or maybe he thinks he killed Sauron.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, like maybe Sauron is not who he thought it was.
Yeah, so he maybe... Well, more of what I was thinking is like maybe he thought he killed him by splitting him, but
he never died.
It could have been like a Voldemort-esque kind of thing where it's like, okay, you killed my mortal body, but my spirit lives on type thing or whatever.
I mean, that's exactly what the rings are. So Horcruxes, right?
I mean, we don't have the rings yet, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have that power or that potential.
Oh, we knew he did, but we know he does because we know that the rings exist. Well,
yeah, there you go. Boom. There it
is. There it is. So he might not be in a ring. He might be in a boot or a snake, but
not a boot.
He might be in a snake. He could be in a book somewhere. We don't know. Book, snake, cup, locket. He could be in any one of those things. Diadem, just tiara, just chilling. He could be in Halbrand's crown, just chilling. He could be in Halbrand's little thing, his little locket thing. He could be in the pouch. They keep showing that.
You're right. But
how weird would it be if I was right?
That would be great. I would celebrate. That would be great. But once again, we called it, saying that Adar was probably a follower of Sauron and then ended up turning against him. And running off to go do his own thing. So, once again, the casual fangirls. All right. Love that for us.
I just want to circle back. If Sauron's in anything, he's in the hilt. But go ahead.
Got it. Yes. So after Adar explains all of that, or while he's explaining that, actually, the scene is cut with flashbacks of the Northern Tower in that mountain from the first episode, where Galadriel led her troop and where they rebelled against her. So clearly that's where Sauron was out there doing his thing, trying to figure out whatever this power was or trying to conjure it and that whole kind of thing. What do you think Sauron was looking for or was trying to unearth?
Either the hilt or some book with a spell to do something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's my guess too. It's more of like some sort of spell to make something happen.
Right.
Unless the hilt is what he made.
You mean after leaving the North?
Like that's what he was. I'm trying to see if that fits the story. No, because Adar was looking for that to begin with, so he knew it was around.
He knew it existed.
Yeah. So whatever Sauron was trying to make, he hadn't made before Adar left. But I'm guessing it's the spell to try to figure out how to make the rings. That's my best bet.
Yeah, there's that, or like how to make Horcruxes.
Eh.
And he found it.
Okay, but we got to leave Harry Potter out of this one a little bit. Okay?
Am I triggering you? It's the same thing.
It's not triggering me, but it's just like it's not.
Okay, so all of my Marvel references you're fine with. I say one Harry Potter thing, and it's like I will respect your wishes, and I won't bring up Harry Potter again.
This came
first. It did. It came before a lot of things. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Okay, so I have a little bit of information because even when I heard Adar's whole story about Sauron was trying to heal Middle Earth and do all these things, I was like, wait, what? Huh? What happened? So in a little bit of my research, it turns out that in Tolkien's letters, he describes Sauron as not being evil in origin, but he was corrupted by Morgoth. After Morgoth's death, Sauron lingered in Middle-earth, trying to do good works and avoiding the judgment of the gods. Because they were like, Morgoth's dead, you need to come face your judgment. And he was like, no, I'm about to hang out in here. And then, I don't know what exactly happened, but it's like, basically the gods neglected to follow up. And so in trying to do all these good works and trying to heal Middle Earth and trying to rush that along, he ends up slipping back into the darkness and becoming evil again. So there was a period of time where Sauron was trying to do the right thing. But we all know the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So
where do I know that line from? That's a lyric, isn't it?
No, I think it's just a saying. I mean, I'm sure somebody's used it as a lyric. I wouldn't.
Feels like something Kendrick would say. Okay.
But it's just a saying that I've always known. I don't know.
No, you're right. So this background is actually really helpful, Nessa, and it's something that my friend Lawrence, you guys will meet him at some point. He told me about like a week ago. He was like, oh, Sauron is X, Y, like this is, I think he was good at some point, or there's something around that. I think that's really interesting that Sauron has this like redemption arc in the middle of his backstory.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means. I need to think about it a lot more, but I just thought it was like, oh, like this is, because so far we've been looking at the enemy as being like pure evil, right? And if we think about touch the dark, light, yada, 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 Sauron touched the dark, was in it for a minute. Well, he was good, got corrupted, came back to good, but then went back to being bad, right?
Yeah.
So that dichotomy of like, where someone's going to end up is like so in flux at any point in time that it doesn't even make sense to just full out just say that person is pure evil.
Yeah, I think it's something that they need to expand upon in the show. Because if
Absolutely.
you're not the type, if you're more of a casual fan and you're not the type to look up these kinds of things or follow up on these kinds of things, you wouldn't know. And I think that's where a lot of like people's criticism of like Tolkien comes from, where it's like, it's too black and white, it's too good and bad and all these kinds of things. And it's like, nah, there's really like little stuff in there that lets you know that people are really struggling with this. And it also made me think of things of like where people start off and they're like, I want to make this change. I want this to happen. I want this for my community. And they're like, this is not happening fast enough. Let me make a deal with this person. Let me cut corners over here. Let me do this. Let me do that. Next thing you know, you a full blown mob boss, but you giving out turkeys, around Thanksgiving time. Like, my cousin's hooked on crack, but you're giving out turkeys, I guess. Like, it makes me think of those kinds of moves.
That is hilarious. Because that is so right.
That's how I feel about it.
I don't have anything else to say.
I just feel like that was Sauron. Sauron's like, I need to heal these people. This is not healing fast enough. I need to discover a power so I can make these people heal. Why aren't you healing? Heal for me. Now I'm evil. Okay.
Kind of like going at it like the ends justify the means.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Yes, yes. All right. Next up, Galadriel tries to kill Adar. So after all of this, and we get this background info and everything, Galadriel goes in for the kill, and Halbrand stops her. So now they've done each other the favor or whatever. Halbrand tells her that he never felt more free than fighting by her side. Because she's like, you need to let go of all this stuff that you've been carrying, because the man don't remember you anyways. So you might as well let it go. And he's like, yeah, I feel free fighting next to you. Bats eyelashes. Again, we've got another admirer of Galadriel, right? And then the Queen Regent calls him, and he is crowned King of the Southlands. Oh, hell! Right? And I want to know, did you get the feeling that this is what he wanted all along?
No, I think when he was in Numenor, he was legitimately trying to get away because of whatever happened that he's embarrassed about. So I don't think that this is what he wanted like the entire time we saw him. But I do think that he plans on stepping into it at this point because Galadriel believes in him to do it. Like, I think his bond with Galadriel is encouraging him stepping into being this person that apparently he's always supposed to be. I do think that he was fighting it for the first couple of episodes.
My brain does not want me to think that he's good. It doesn't want me to think that he's good. And so I think this is what he wanted all along. Because when they were like, will you accept being king? He was like, yeah. Like, it was no hesitation.
He paused for dramatic effect.
For dramatic effect.
Okay, if that's the case, then the question I wanted to ask, and I should have put it in the outline, and I'm sorry I didn't, but do we think Halbrand is feeling feelings more than just like respect and admiration for Galadriel?
Oh, he definitely wants to get under her armor for sure.
So does that make him like? How do you reconcile that with like you thinking that he's just bad, like low-key?
You can still want to smash someone. And
but like
an asshole.
We know that.
I think he respects what she's capable of, and that she's done all these things. Or it might just be a whole heel turn at the end of the day, where he's like, "You thought I was feeling you," kind of thing. So
I faked my battle cry. Okay.
Right, basically. So I think it might end up playing out something like that. Like, he's just going to sweeten her up long enough to make sure he solidifies his position, and then I don't know, do it.
Okay. I want to be clear. I think that Halbrand has the capacity to eventually not be a good person, right? Mm-hmm. He's a man. He's a descendant of Morgoth, of the people who helped Morgoth. I think that he's going to struggle with that back and forth, like we saw Boromir do back in Lord of the Rings, right? Yeah. I think we're going to see Halbrand playing that character along with Theo, like them two playing that character. I don't know if for this episode that like there's I understand that you think that there's like malintent, like there's a plot, like he has an actual strategy for this. I don't know that I believe that yet, but I respect it.
That's fair. That's fair. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
Adar asks Halbrand, "Who are you?" And Halbrand does not answer. So and I think that's part of the reason too why I'm like, I don't think he's a good guy, because you did this whole thing. Do you know who I am? And then at the end, when Adar is finally like, well, who are you? Like, what did, kind of like, basically like, what did I do to you? He doesn't answer. So.
Well, his question there, his answer should be, I am king of the Southlands. And maybe he just didn't want to tell Adar that because of some prophecy or something. Obviously, he's the king that was promised, the prince or whatever that was promised. And that makes me, we talked about this. There's probably some prophecy or something like that. And for him to say, I am this person, I am the king of the Southlands, maybe that would be playing his cards to Adar if there's some level of prophecy afoot here. So that's how I took it, as like him not answering. But I do get what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know. We don't know. Yeah. A lot still remains.
Clearly, I'm trying to like see the good in Halbrand, and Nessa's just like, no.
The red flags are plenty. They are plenty. So when the queen is talking to Bronwyn, right before she introduces Halbrand so that they can crown him king, when, I'm not going to lie to you, when Bronwyn turned around, I thought she was going to be like, I know him. Like, that's my baby dad. I thought he might have been Theo's dad.
I didn't think that would have been wild.
And so when they were looking at each other for a second, I was leaning forward and I was like,
oh, can you imagine the drama?
Oh, I would have loved it. I would have loved it. That's exactly what they should have done. I would have loved it. But they didn't seem to recognize each other at all, which I guess, I don't know. So it's like, how long has he been gone? I don't know.
I mean, they were in the village. You can live your whole life in a village and never see the king. Right?
Yeah, fair. Fair.
Oh, that would have been so dramatic. That would have been so
loved it.
Can you imagine Arondir and Halbrand going at it? Oh. We still might get it, but like,
I was waiting for it to turn around and be like.
Did you get vibes that Halbrand might be into Bronwyn a little bit though? Like that could still be a thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like there was some energy there. Mm-hmm. There was some energy there, and I was hoping that it was baby daddy energy, but it could just be like, ooh,
future baby daddy energy.
Future baby daddy energy.
On his, future baby mama energy on his part, I guess. Like he might be into her, maybe. I'm with it. I'm with that. Like there might be something that develops in the future with them. I mean, we called in House of the Dragon that whole necklace scene. We was like, something about that ain't right.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, were we right. So I like it. Yeah. I didn't think that, but I kind of wish that I did, so I could have got hyped in the moment.
It's all good. All right. Waldreg, turns out he's got the key. He got the keys. And he puts it into the stone, which unleashes a flood. Water flows through the tunnels that the orcs have been building. Now we know why they've been building this tunnel, which leads to the volcano, ignites it. Fire rains down. The earth is covered in smoke and ash. Galadriel disappears. We've got Mount Doom, people.
Mount Doom.
Udun. The orcs start chanting. And Udun, it refers to the Valley of Mordor.
Does it?
Guys, this is the beginning, the creation, the genesis of Mordor. Here we are. How did you feel? Because you texted me.
I did. I was like, oh shit, Mount Doom. I was like, for those of you who may not know, my undergraduate degree is in geology. So I got really.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was really stuck in the like, wait, that's how. Can that happen? I didn't Google it. I was just like, let me just like let it be. Like I'm not about to sit up here and like dissect it. I feel like
rooting for myself either. But
right.
I was like, can you make a volcano explode like that?
So I think that there probably is something there about like interrupting the temperature and that causing like combustible like or just like fucking with the energy. I just cursed, my bad. Messing with the energy so that it like, you know, disrupts and then it explodes. I feel like I was so stuck on that. Like watching it, I was just like, wait, can that? And then I had to be like, T, just stop. Just Mount Doom, yay! Like,
I definitely thought about that. I was like, I don't know how realistic this is, but it looks great. It looks cool. Watching the water rush through all the tunnels and everything was pretty awesome. Seeing that whole plan come together. Also, I was like, who built all of this stuff to trigger and to, you know, who rigged all of this? Like,
exactly.
How long has it been sitting here?
Exactly.
I have so many questions.
It really gets back to like, what is the origin of the hilt, right? Like, that tower was an elven. I was under the impression it was an elven tower.
Yes.
So if that's the case, and elves had some role in building it and construct, like elves building that like complicated like lock and key mechanism, like whatever type of building, makes a lot of sense. I have no problem with that. Yeah. Does that mean they also built the hilt? They made the hilt?
That's the question. Like, how did all that come together? Or did they just build a tower? They had everything rigged because maybe they wanted to control water flow and all that kind of stuff.
That makes sense, yeah.
Which is fine. That part makes sense, right? But that means somebody had to come along, a follower of Sauron, a follower of Morgoth, and they had to build at least this part. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand.
I don't understand that either. So I thought that was super, super intricate. And the fact that Adar knew that was the thing that was going to happen. And he put so much energy into building a tunnel on the whim that this was actually going to play out. Like, I wonder if he was around when it was built, or it just felt like a very intricate plan. I mean, it worked, obviously. Like he slid down and like was listening to the water running and everything.
Like a proud daddy. He said yes.
And then also, like, how does he know that water and lava makes exploding volcano?
That's what I'm saying.
I know
this known fact, but
I'm with it. Like, watching the creation of Mount Doom was wild.
Awesome. Loved it. How did Arendir not notice that the hilt, the bundle that he gets is not the hilt?
You know why? Because he kissed that girl, and now he can't think straight.
He kissed the white girl.
He's not thinking with the right head anymore.
Because I'm like, because they, and especially in this episode, they built up how keen the senses of the elves are. Mm-hmm. And this is why I keep picking at this, because I'm like, if y'all are supposed to have all this power, if y'all are supposed to be so on top of your game of everything, I felt like he should have gotten the bundle and been like, this ain't the right weight. This don't feel the same.
Especially because he had the freaking hammer in his hand. He knows what that feels like.
Yeah, you know what it should be. And then it was like, why give it back to Theo? Why?
So, okay.
For this child?
Can we talk about the scene really quickly? So, when he gave it back to her, back to him, I was like, what are you doing? This is clearly giving strong, like, rings of power, drawn in, Smeagol vibes. Like, don't do that. Then when he opens it, like, I feel like he opens it because Theo realizes it's not the hilt. Like, I feel like Theo realized that it wasn't right.
I thought he opened it because he just went to feel it one more time.
Maybe. Okay, fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
But in any event, when I saw that it wasn't the hilt, I was like, oh, Arendir knew it wasn't the hilt. That's why he gave it back to him. So that makes sense. But then when we cut to the dude whose name I really don't want, Waldrag, when we cut to Waldrag actually having the hilt, I'm like, wait, I'm confused. When did this happen? Because when Arendir gives him the hammer, I was like, oh, great. Like, he must have he knew, first of all, he knew Theo was following him. So he switched it out and put the hammer in the in the floorboards of the tavern so that no one would know, so that Theo would think that he know, but he actually knew where it was. So I thought Arondir was on his P's and Q's, and he just knew, like, from the beginning that Theo was following him, so he switched it all out. That's why he had no problem giving it back to him at the end, like, here, look, you wasn't even going to put nobody in danger anyway because I was thinking ahead of you. I got you, bro. No, because Waldreg had the freaking hilt. Yeah. So now I'm just like, Arondir is slipping.
Yeah. Yeah. He ain't on it. And it's so sad.
It's very
They
sad.
better not Tyrion him. I'm going to be real upset.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. Like, he kissed her and then now he can't think straight.
I'm going to be real upset. Muriel's dad was right. The king of Numenor said, if you go to the Southlands, all you will find is darkness. And this is the darkness that she has found. Her face when the smoke was coming, I was actually laughing because it was just because Arondir was watching it like, and she's like, like she makes some weird face. But please go back and watch it. If you weren't paying attention to her face when all the smoke and lava is coming on their way, please go watch it. But her dad was right. Her dad called it. We don't know if he had a dream or a vision or whatever it was, but he was right. And everybody is consumed. Right. Everybody's consumed. The village.
Well, right before we cut to like the final like shot, you hear Arondir say, "Everyone get behind the wall." Mm-hmm. So the assumption is that there are going to be people who survive. Obviously, we know Isildur gotta survive. So like, if he's got to survive, other people probably definitely survive. So that was one thing. The other thing though was just like they were taking a little bit too long to move for me. Like just standing there watching.
This thing is coming. Let's go.
Yeah, and I mean it comes fast.
Let's go.
That's what he said. But like, but still, like move your feet.
And then I was also mad that like Galadriel was just standing there and was not trying to help the people. I was like, so you're not gonna try to like carry the people off into the right? She just stood there and just let herself be consumed by all the smoke and fire. And I was like,
because she's selfish. That's why.
Like, is this your Jon Snow moment? Battle of the Bastards? I was like,
no, she's selfish. She's so one-track minded. She can't believe that she got outsmarted and like the dark is actually coming down on her. Like she's so annoying in this. It's like, do what you were put on this earth to do, and that's to make this place better. You could do that by saving the people around you and not just like only being consumed with like the darkness, literally, right?
Yeah.
Like with fighting the darkness.
Yeah. I love that read on it, actually. All right, y'all. And that was the episode. The episode literally ends with everybody being engulfed in smoke and fire.
Ash.
Ash. So that's how it ends. You know how I like to do my favorite quotes of the episode.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I have a couple of them. So I have, despise not the labor which humbles the heart. Humility has saved entire kingdoms. The proud have all but led to ruin. And this is said by Galadriel to Isildur when he is embarrassed about being a stable sweep. But like I said earlier, it's like your pride has been leading you all types of ways. People have died, all these things. But I was like, I guess, fine. Do as I say, not as I do type of thing.
I want to be, the one thing we forgot to mention too is that Isildur gets his like moment in the sunlight. Like he's just a stable boy, but the queen lets him join the battle and he saves, somebody.
Nobody.
No?
Who is her? He's trying to make it to his father, but Halbrand saves his dad.
Halbrand saves his dad. You're right. In any event, he got to taste battle. Is what I'm saying.
He got to taste battle. He did. She let him go. She saw how antsy he was looking. He got to run down in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one that I have is so when Theo is scared, the orcs are coming. He basically turns to his mama, Brownwind, and is like, please tell me the things that you used to tell me when I was younger and I was afraid. And she says, in the end, this shadow is but a small and passing thing. There is light and high beauty forever beyond its reach. Find the light and the shadow will not find you. And this just reminded me of Dumbledore's quote, which I have here on my laptop, which says, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. And I love quotes like this. I feel like it fully represents Tolkien's writing, which is hope. There's always hope. And it's not a small thing, you know, and if you have any grain of hope, you can accomplish the greatest of things. And so I think I'm going to have to get that printed out and put that somewhere in my home, or maybe another sticker for my laptop. For sure.
I like it. I want that for you. I love that for you. I want to say something, and I hope it doesn't ruin it for you.
God.
So this is such our dynamic.
Gods be good.
So when I see this particular quote, like the Dumbledore quote, is not exactly the same as this quote. The Dumbledore quote is like, yeah, it's dark, but if you just remember to turn on the light, then it's not dark anymore. This thing with like shadows, you can't have a shadow without light.
Okay.
And that just like, I don't know, I get nitpicky about it. Just me being nitpicky about this.
To me, that's kind of the point too, right? Okay, so if there's, all right, let's stick with it. Let's do it. If there's not shadows without light, sometimes you focus too deeply on the shadow and you forget to turn to the light.
Fine. Find the light.
You're not about to mess
this up. No. I'm not trying to mess it up. I'm not trying to mess it up for you. I'm really not. But what you said, yes. Yeah. What she said, find the light and the shadow will not find you. That's not right. Like, that is that piece of it. But I'm like, the shadow's right behind you.
I'm done with you. That was my final quote, y'all. I'm done with her. Do you have any final thoughts about the episode?
Again, I surprisingly like this episode. Even though I'm being nitpicky and I'm like getting on Nessa about it and everything like that, and being a troublemaker today because I'm in a great mood. Surprisingly, I got like no sleep. I actually really did enjoy this episode, and this was the first episode where I was kind of like, and I don't know why, but I was kind of like, oh, I kind of get why Nessa's so into this story. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it was about it. I think it was like finally seeing these things come together that made me be like, oh, like all the setup makes a lot of sense. And then you saw all the speculating we did today. It got me excited to like, okay, like I see how they set things up. Now I kind of see how they do things, and I'm getting excited about what they're going to do next. So I like the episode. I'm annoyed by a lot of the characters, but like overall, I think that we're in a good place. And we have 2 episodes left, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, this was episode 6. It's going to be 8 episodes in total.
2 more.
I'm actually a little shocked that this wasn't the penultimate episode.
I'm glad it's not, because I feel like we have so many more questions. I need them to have the space and time to answer those questions for us.
I don't think they're going to answer everything.
Well, no.
Okay, really quickly, what are the questions that you need them to answer by the end of the season?
Oh my gosh. I need more about Isildur's mom. I need to understand that a little bit better. I know they're not going to answer the whole thing about who put in the contraption, who put in the thing for the hilt, or like where it came from. I wish they would give us a little bit more.
I feel like they might answer that though.
I would love them to answer it.
I feel like they'll answer that before they answer the thing about the mom.
Probably. Possibly. What are the Numenorians going to do now? How many of them have died? We need to know that much. Mm-hmm. Or
I have one main question that I need answered. Yes. Yes.
Will they give you that answer? I could, you know what I could see them doing? I could see them giving a major hint and then leaving it on a cliffhanger.
As the last scene of the season. Yeah. I feel like that's what they're gonna do.
I could feel them doing
but give
that.
me that, fine. But if you don't give me that, like I'm a riot.
All right. One of my final thoughts about the episode is Galadriel is a tough hang. She's very hard to like. She's very hard to get into a lot of times. And I'm glad we got a couple of moments this episode to be like, oh, okay, I see why people follow her. I see why people like her. I see a softer side of her. Cool. Something other than I need to get Sauron. He needs to die. But I just find it hard to like her and to connect to her, which is why I'm glad they have so many characters in rotation. Because it's like, if you're not feeling, imagine if the whole show was about her.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like, if you're not feeling her, cool, you've got the Harfoots. If you're not feeling them, you've got, Durin and the dwarves. You got the elves. You got everybody. So I'm appreciative that we have those many people to like rotate between.
I agree. I think also it's like Galadriel, again, she's not really interesting because she's so one dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Like even Adar is even before this episode where we got to learn more about Adar was a more interesting character to me than Galadriel because like what is his backstory? Like trying to figure that out. With Galadriel, it's like, okay, we get it. You wanna revenge your brother's death and you wanna fight off the darkness forever. And nobody really wants to help you. Well, kinda, but like not really. Now what?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. It's just I'm not invested in the story like that. And it's actually interesting because that is the plot that's pushing the story along.
But I think that speaks to the strength of everybody else around her. Like,
Agree.
You still got us in here.
Agree.
All right, T. Take us to a look ahead.
Yeah. So at the end of the episode, we see a trailer for the next episode, which is kind of not a. I feel like it didn't show us as much as the other trailers for the other episodes have shown us. What we do see is glimpses of the Harfoots continuing their journey and shots of them looking very frightened. So, like, what are they afraid of? My guess is the stranger, based off of what happened in the last episode, but we'll get to that next week. We also see Galadriel covered in ash, so we know that she survived the volcano explosion. Obviously, we knew that anyway because she's in Lord of the Rings. Forgot that. Ignore me. She's covered in ash as everything around her is destroyed. And then we also see Durin and Elrond back at Khazad Dûm trying to dig for Mithril. So, and there being some discussion about, I think, safety, right?
Yeah, basically, like we don't dig where the earth does not support, something like that. So
interested to see how that plays out.
Absolutely. Definitely looking forward to it. And we'll see what we get next week, y'all, because a lot happened this week. So next week should be awesome. I'm going to be happy to be back with the Harfoots, my peoples. I know you're not the biggest fan.
You like potatoes, so.
Potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. All right, y'all. Well, thank you for joining us. It's always lovely to talk with my co-host and to talk to you guys about these stories and to share our thoughts. Make sure you guys go like, comment, subscribe, follow, do all of the things. We are at Casual Fangirls _ on Instagram, and you can find us on YouTube, Casual Fangirls. So make sure you guys check us out, support Black women. And we will be seeing you guys next time. As always, I am Nessa.
And I'm T.
And together we are the Casual Fangirls. See you soon.